Guardians of the Galaxy 3 might be the best MCU film that we've had since Endgame. I think the only competition that it can actually have is Spider-Man No Way Home. Honestly, it really bodes well for DC with James Gunn being in control. Like, the man makes good films. He's proven himself at this point. This review, about halfway through, is going to switch to a spoiler review. I will point out when that happens, by the way. Something I really loved about this film was that every single character in it had their own moment. No matter how minor the character, literally, a random talking dog has got a moment in this film. And I'm pretty sure, by the way, that James Gunn is a fan of the prototype games. I would be very shocked if he's not, because Groot in this game, in this film, does some cool stuff, and it all seems rather inspired by prototype games. Groot, by the way, might be the most badass version of Groot that we've seen thus far. Like, I'm not quite sure how we've had so many different versions of Groot, considering there are only 3 Guardians films. Like, is it 5 films total that Groot's been in when you count the 2 of the last 2 Avengers? Because we had the original tall Groot, and then we had the, like, baby Groot and teen Groot, and then, like, the taller teen Groot that gave Thor the arm, and then we got, like, tank Groot here. Like, Groot is cool. Although it's something I don't understand, and they kind of tried to explain it in the film, but it went right over my head, was Gamora being back. That's not a spoiler, by the way. Gamora is in the trailers, and I've watched this film now, and I still don't really understand why Gamora is alive. And the film gives an explanation for it, but very quickly. And even the characters in the film kind of acknowledge, going, yeah, it doesn't make much sense, but whatever, carry on. Like, I think they wrote themselves into a little bit of a corner. But despite the fact that they brought Gamora back, I think they still dealt with it in a really respectful way to the original character. Because, for example, I know that a lot of people want Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man to come back, but I truly think he never should. Because his character went out in the best possible way. Sometimes you have to let good things go before they turn bad. And if they were going to bring back any of the characters that we lost to Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, Gamora, probably the one to choose, because who can we choose here? Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, or Gamora? Gamora is the one there that people probably care the least about. Let's be fair, either her or Black Widow. This film was 2.5 hours long, which in most instances would be a struggle to keep the general public's attention. Now, a lot of you guys that have followed me for a while have seen that I encounter a decent amount of issues with people talking or being on their phones in the cinema, especially when you have a film that is long, because attention spans these days are very small. That's why TikTok and Reels and Shorts and things like that can do so well. But to keep people's attention for a 2.5 hour long film, and I didn't see a single person in this cinema look at their phone even once. The only time that anybody came even close was a smartwatch, which, by the way, are a whole problem in and of themselves in the cinema, because every time somebody raises a drink to their mouths, the smartwatch turns on. It's frustrating. But whatever. This cinema was fully packed, and not a soul was on their phone, and I think that's quite impressive. I do believe that prior to this film coming out, James Gunn had said that this is going to be the last time that we see the Guardians in this sort of configuration in terms of this cast. Maybe not the group Guardians themselves, in the same way that the old style Avengers that we're used to is probably gone forever, and we're going to get a new lot when it comes time for the Kang Dynasty or whatever it is. But I don't know how I feel about it. Like, some of the newer members of the Guardians, despite the fact there are only 3 Guardians films and none of the characters had their own films like the Avengers did, I still kind of like it. Like, again, no spoilers, but the new configuration of Guardians that we have towards the end of this film, I wouldn't mind there being another Guardians film about this new group. And the good thing is that with the Guardians films especially, is the majority of the characters CGI, which means they can do the role for pretty much ever. A big problem that the MCU has got is the fact that humans age in real time. This means that every single character, every single casting choice is a limited time frame, whereas these characters from the comics are going back now, some of them nearly 100 years, you know. But from here, right from the get-go, we've got limitations in terms of the age of characters. Like, I think the age of Chris Pratt was even mentioned in this film at one point, about the fact that Star-Lord is nearly 50. And it's like, at that point, are we going to get another Star-Lord film? Is Chris Pratt coming back again? I honestly, I doubt it. Same goes with, like, Batista. I think I'd seen a thing about Batista saying that he doesn't really like the way that Drax was characterized in some of these films as being an idiot and not being as strong as he possibly should be. And to be fair, I kind of agree there. Drax appears to have been nerfed as these films went on. Like, at this point, having super strength in the MCU doesn't mean a lot when pretty much everybody of note has got at least some level of super strength. And it's not as even as if, like, Drax has got beyond super strength, because he still gets beaten up in like every film. But in all honesty, this was such an awesome film. And from here on in, I'm going to switch to spoiler mode. So if you want no spoilers for this film, leave now. Or if you love me anyway, keep watching. So Rocket doesn't die. The trailers make it really, really blatantly obvious that they were trying to bait people into thinking he was dying. And I said this to my girlfriend before we went. I was like, I'm betting that he's not going to die. It would be way too obvious. All of the trailers make it look like Rocket is on his way out. Like, I'm pretty sure there are lines in the trailers that are not in the film. I'm pretty sure. But within the first 10 minutes of this film, Rocket is on death's door on a stretcher and they're trying to save his life. And I was like, this is too early in the film for this to be real. He ain't dying. And I was right. But something else about this film was it's pretty sad in like a dark and scary way a little bit. Like, Sam Raimi had nothing to do with this film, but it would have made sense if he did because of the sort of body horror that's in here. Like, you've got like a rabbit that's got like spider legs made of metal and it's just a bit creepy. Like, there is a lot of animal-based body horror in this and it's a bit hard to watch at times, especially with like Rocket Raccoon's backstory. And at one point, again, we're doing spoiler talk now, so it's okay. At one point, the bad guy gets his face literally ripped off, and you get to see the product of the mauling that Baby Rocket gave him. And that was pretty rough to look at too. Like, this guy could have played Red Skull if he'd have wanted to at that point. The CGI in this must have been like, people have been talking about the CGI in the last few Marvel films not being as good as it should be, and to be honest, it looks like it all went to this one, which, to be fair, probably a good choice. But like I said at the start, every character in this had their moment. Drax gets to be a good dad. The dog gets to be a good dog. The bloke who took over Yondu's arrow got to do the thing. Gamora gets to be a good... not Gamora. Nebula gets to be a good person. Star-Lord gets to learn to be without Gamora. Rocket is obviously Rocket, and Groot speaks. And I don't think he really speaks. Like, for the first time in the entire franchise, we hear Groot say something that isn't, I am Groot. But I'm pretty sure that what they're trying to make you think is that he did say, I am Groot, but you heard what the characters hear, because remember, all of the characters can understand Groot when he's talking. So I think that's what they were getting at there. But like I say, literally every character in this had sort of a full story closure here, where like, a lot of them, if they didn't come back again, I think that's okay. It's sad because at this point we are severely running out of pre-Endgame characters to carry on with. Like, a lot of people will agree that the characters that have been introduced since Endgame, nobody cares about because it's all Disney Plus stuff, or it's all like stuff with an agenda where they're trying to push a message and things like that. But now, with the Guardians, that was never the case and isn't the case in this one, thank God. But if this original cast of Guardians isn't coming back, does that mean that we are now pretty much done with original characters, like older characters from the MCU? We're running out for sure, but I am truly happy that they all got sort of a happy ending in this. I'm very glad that Rocket did not die, because like I said, Rocket and Groot are two characters that they can keep using for pretty much forever, because even when the voice actors stop voice acting, there are impressionists, you know? Like, how many people can impersonate Vin Diesel saying, I am Groot? Or Bradley Cooper. I'm pretty sure that anyone could do that voice with a little bit of practice. So these CGI characters, it would make sense for Marvel to try to keep them around for as long as they possibly can, because they're not bound by human aging like they are every other character in the franchise. Something else I enjoyed about this film was it didn't do the thing that all of the MCU films have been doing for a while now, with taking away from dark and serious moments with a joke. There were plenty of times that they could have done it, but they didn't. There were a couple of jokes in this film that went on for a little bit too long, for sure, but like, they didn't do the Taika Waititi thing that seems to have been the style now for a while, where everything is a joke. Like, do you know how frustrating it would have been if Rocket was there on the deathbed and Star-Lord was like trying to resuscitate him and somebody cracked the joke? That's what might have happened in one of the other MCU films post-Endgame, but it didn't in this one, and I'm glad, because it would have been rather irritating. So yeah, I would rank this as one of the better MCU films on the whole, to be honest, but definitely the best one since Endgame, if not in joint with Spider-Man No Way Home. And even then, that might be nostalgia talking, because I loved Spider-Man No Way Home because of Tobey Maguire. Anyway, go and watch it. And I think in America, you guys have still got a couple of days before it even comes out. But yeah, it was great. Thanks for watching. Click the subscribe. I'll see you later.